There. A live Poke the Bear, Connor, on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. But what beats this? We got the music playing in the background. This is good. This. It feels good. It feels good. And as always, we're brought to you by Prize Picks. Use that promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And remember, go subscribe to Bruins Rinkside on YouTube. We got stuff all the time. We do these all the time now. Almost every podcast is live at this point. Pucks with Hags, Bruins Beat, Poke the Bear, which is great. Subscribe over there. And if you don't like watching us, you just like listening, make sure to go check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts from. Celtics All Access, Patriots Press Pass. Those are humming. I'm Evan Marinofsky as Conor Ryan. Connor, what's up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. You guys were all at the Garden, so couldn't go live after the game on Tuesday night. Shout out Robert Chalmers. He texted me. He's like, is there a live stream tonight? I was like, nah, man, I'm sorry. Like, wish there was. But hell of a game. 5-3 win, 2 straight wins over the Leafs, 7 straight wins on the season. And you can feel things turning a little bit around here. Like even myself, who has been, I got someone came at me on Twitter the other day for being a big naysayer. They were like, we don't want you. We don't want you, with what you were saying before the season, all this. I was like, was I that negative? I mean, I think the common thing was that they weren't making the playoffs, but things are starting to turn. And last night was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, vibes are high, right? I mean, this is a team that it's not, you look at where they started on this win streak and you're like, all right, they're righting the ship. They're doing little things here and there to kind of get back on the right track. Now what they're doing is they're like beating down teams that right now don't look like they're as in sync, as connected, as, locked in and bought into what they're trying to do night in, night out. Like you can still make the argument that even with, Mitch Mana being in Vegas, that Toronto still has the more talented roster, right? But like, it's not like the Bruins have been like sneaking out these wins against Toronto. They've like controlled play for extended stretches. Even with Toronto kind of getting back into that game in the later the second period, third period, what have you. The Bruins still, I think, controlled most of those 2 games. And it's been impressive, right? You're just seeing this team continue to stack wins. You're seeing them win in a variety of ways. You look at this last game, David Pastrnak gets the 2 goals, gets goal 400 and 401. And yes, you're going to rely on guys like him, Morgan Gee, all the big guns you have to keep you afloat. But then you look at a game where Tanner Jeannot and Mark Kastelik get power play points. Like you got these guys chipping in on the power play. You've got a power play that now is 8th in the NHL. They're clicking at 25% right now. The PK is still at 11th in the league, even with that rough game up in Toronto on Saturday. And you just look at the way they're playing, and I think you're just seeing that buy-in and that belief. And, we've said before that the way they're scoring right now, I think they're what are they even now? They're 6th in the NHL in goals per game. Like, I don't know
Crazy.
how.
I never would have ever predicted that.
I don't know how sustainable that is, right? And maybe we're just going to keep on talking about this until we get to December, January, and they're still averaging like 3.5 points, goals per game. But right now they're clicking. You've got all these guys pulling on the rope. If it's not one game where it's Fraser Minton stepping up, it's Tanner Jeannot, it's Kastelik, it's Asimon. It's all these guys that seem to be buying into what the Bruins are doing. Like, look at this game up against Ottawa. Maybe that's the 2-goal game for Victor Arvidsson, right? Would it surprise me? It feels like every single game, another guy's stepping up. And yeah, even if you're expecting some regression there offensively, if the Bruins are playing as dialed in defensively as they've been during this win streak, and the power play is hovering around 15%, and Jeremy Swayman is at the very least a league average goalie, you're going to be stacking up points. That's kind of what we said before the year started, and I think they're overshooting those expectations because so many other guys are stepping up right now, and it's encouraging to see. And I think you just see how Marco Sturm is preaching like this team and the buy-in they have, and you're seeing that belief, and I think also that little bit of swagger from this team now where, they're seeing the results, and, it almost feels like they have the answers to the test, right? Of like, hey, we play the way that Marco wants us to play. We're going to, be a tough out every single night. We're going to capitalize on our chances, We're going to have spots where maybe we're getting outshot. We're not generating as much offense, but we can land a punch or two, and then we can defend like crazy in our own end. And, that seems like there's that buy-in and that belief, and it's encouraging to see.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying earlier in the season where it's like Sturm is coaching for this roster. Like the systems that they play, the way they want to play is exactly like this roster needs to play. And it's been encouraging. As you were talking, I looked it up. Bruins are 8th in the league in power play percentage. 8th. They were cooking on Tuesday night. Cooking on the power play. And it's fluid. The broadcast mentioned it. They move around more. They're way more mobile. They give different looks.
Pasta's flying all over the place, and like he's been making plays, not as like the trigger man on that unit anymore, right? Like I know he scores that goal off of that sick feed from Kastelik, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But like, if he's the guy that's setting up Pastrnak there, and for the rest of the time it's him with the puck on his stick moving around, and it has the PK kind of having their heads on a swivel there. It's a lot different from what you saw last year, where it's like, let's try to get an entry. Oh, shit, we can't do that. Oh, we finally get it over. Let's feed it to Pasta. Yep. Like, that's not working. So, to your point, yeah, it's night and day.
It's night and day. And it's been much better. Credit to Steve Spott. Credit to the guys on the unit. Like, they have – it's a different look. And the offense was great last night again. But the other thing that really stood out to me was the P&V, the piss and vinegar. It showed. They out-toughed the Leafs. And granted, they kind of always have. Like, it's not anything new. It's not like they did it against the Panthers. But they pushed them around. They did. I mean, even that play where Sammy Blais takes out McAvoy's legs, after the whistle, McAvoy kind of like pitchforked someone, low-bridged them.
Wow. I thought for a second, like in the fracas, I thought like it was Blais for a second. Then I saw like Zadorov beating up Sammy Blais. I'm like, oh, Waugh just got like caught in the fracas there of just being
wrong place, wrong time.
Guy to him. Yeah.
And you just see it in Domi with Zadorov, and I think Zadorov continues to endear himself to fans around here. I mean, I've liked Zadorov a lot more the last couple of weeks. He has really morphed into, I think, what they want and what they wanted and what they signed him to be, and he looks like he's becoming more comfortable, be it on the ice and as a leader off of it. So you're getting more from him. You have the comment before the game, basically saying that he had a Defumi kick, like he was just, going down the rabbit hole of the 2011. Who hasn't around here? Who hasn't fallen down the rabbit hole of watching games 3 and 4 in that series? But I think he's been way better. And they out-toughed him. Even when they were yapping between the benches. You got Jeannot on the edge of the bench. You got Kastelik there. Zadorov's yelling at Blais in the box. Like, I don't know, that identity. And look, I have been notorious for saying you need speed and skill. And by the way, they still do. This isn't, they still do need that speed and skill. But that's a game where you out-toughed them. You out-toughed them, and I think it helped you on the scoreboard. And they do look like they're coming together. They do. And whether it's the scoring that we've talked about, and I'm with you, Connor, I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think you're going to be, 6th in goals for. I don't think you're going to be 6th all season. But even if you fall to 13th or 14th, like, you're still in a good spot. Your power play is not going to be 8th all season. But as you said, if it falls to 14th or 15th, you're in a good spot, so long as your defense holds up, which it has for a while. And by the way, Lowry continues to play okay since coming back in the lineup. They've sheltered his minutes, and it's worked out. So for me, like, they're just coming together. And it was a fun product. Because preseason, throughout all the summer, we were like, damn, it's going to be a long winter. There'll be a lot of nights where you're like, can I watch a different team? But the last couple weeks, it's like, no, I'm excited to watch this team. I want to see what they do. I want to see what new storylines emerge. And that's testament to them. They're coming together. And I don't think you can argue with that.
No, and I think to your point, I was talking to Ty during the game, and Ty mentioned, like, you look at this lineup where you got Zadorov, you got Kastelik, you've got Jeannot, you got like Jeff Riviere. You got a lot of pretty scary dudes out there that if Toronto wanted to play that game, they weren't going to win it, right? And it's I think a savvy move by Zadorov for that stretch where Toronto's coming back in the game, and Max Domi decides to try to scrap with him and Swayman, kills all momentum. Like Zadorov very well could have just pummeled him into the ice, right?
Yes.
But like essentially, I think I saw someone tweet about it. He did the an impression of like a refrigerator falling over. He just like fell on him. Like that's essentially what he did.
That.
Yeah.
That's great.
But like, Zadorov doesn't take a penalty there. The Bruins, play that whole sequence pretty smart. They get a power play out of it. Pastrnak scores a second goal, and you can breathe a little bit easier. Like, that's also where you're seeing like Zadorov, who drove Toronto nuts these entire 2 games, right? Like, takes out Lawton. Berube's talking about it after the game. He's talking about it before the game on Tuesday. Austin Matthews doesn't like that hit from Zadorov, and then he tries to hit Zadorov and gets hurt. Like,
I'm not laughing at the injury. I'm just,
yeah, but like he's just a menace. He's a menace out there. He gets under people's skin. He can, take you out with a hit. He can do a lot of damage when he's fighting, but also he's chirping. He's bugging the shit out of you, and like he also knows to get under your skin and when to maybe restrain himself and put the other team in a bad spot. I think you saw that with a guy like Domi, but I think also that approach, that physicality, that way they want to play as, a bunch of dickheads out on the ice, I think you're seeing it be like infectious, right? You're seeing other guys step up. You saw Marat Husadinov, who is 5'9", is the first guy in after McMahon had that hit on Hampus Lindholm, right? Like Marat Husadinov isn't the guy that's going to be scrapping, but he's the first guy in. You're seeing all those situations. Like, again, when you have that knee-on-knee hit with McAvoy, Zadorov does step up, and everyone's squaring off there in a fight.
And even Geekie was sort of the first one at Blais. Like, Geekie was the first one over, doing as much as Morgan Geekie could on that. And then Morgan Geekie took that anger and took to Twitter after the game. So that's where he really got his anger out on Kevin Majori.
Yeah. And so, like, I think you look at it, I thought this quote from Sturm afterwards was pretty illuminating, talking about how, obviously, Toronto came in pretty pissed anyway. They're already losing some games, and we'll talk more about that team and where they're headed. But
there was a great comment earlier I want to get back to, but
yeah,
let's see that.
But like you look at, that's a team that's frustrated, have guys that are banged up. We're going to be physical going into it. And Marco Sturm said afterwards, the nice part about our team right now, if one guy says something from the other team, we have the whole bench standing up. And like, that's infectious, right? When you got a whole team that is buying in, that sees, the fruits of their labor of being this tough, tenacious team where, maybe we're not the skilled team, but screw it. Yeah, we're still going to outwork you. We're still going to land some welts. And we're still going to leave the ice with wins. Like, I think you're seeing that buy-in, you're seeing that belief, and it makes for a fun product. Like, I think Bruins fans have been treated to a pretty entertaining product because we have a group that all fights for each other. That, like they're kind of this underdog team, but it doesn't feel like it when they're kicking the shit out of everyone, right? Like it's it's a fun product to watch, and I think you look at what the goal, I think, going into this year, regardless of what the standings were going to be, and the Bruins are obviously playing better right now. It was all about, I think, resetting that culture or building up for this next group of players that are coming in here. I think we mentioned this last week where there's the Grinder Award now and how that's like part of the culture they're trying to set. So when James Hagens or Will Zellers or these other guys come in, hey, you might have like a 3 assist night. That's all well and good. You're not getting the Grinder Award. Where you get in for blocking that shot, for stepping up for your teammate. Like Marat Husadinov is getting shouted out because he's 5'9", scrapping, defending his teammate. I think that is what the Bruins are trying to build here. And it's the cherry on top is that there's that buy-in and you're getting results off of it. So the vibes are high right now, Evan. Like, I know that's a very long-winded response, but you're seeing a team that is building an identity, executing it, and they're getting rewarded for it as well.
Yeah, the vibes are high. And as we've said for the last 2 weeks, enjoy this. I'll also say, though, like, I love your point about, for guys like Hagens and Zellers and Will Moore and Letourneau coming up, that you're stepping into a room where it's strong again. The culture seems to sort of be back. And granted, it's been 8 games of this. So, like, let's take it with a grain of salt. But if this continues, even, they're going to lose some games here or there. I did see 75-7 is still on the table. So we're pro, go 75-7. I'm all for it. But at some point you will lose. That doesn't mean the culture has to go away, though. That doesn't mean the culture is, as you said, standing up for your teammate, playing for the guy next to you and being dickheads. That doesn't need to go away. Like, I think you have the personnel in there. And I think, even next season when a guy like Hagens is up here, and 2 or 3 seasons when guys like Zellers, Jeffrey Viel might not be here, Mark Kastelik, whoever might not be there, but that culture still remains of, no, we're going to stand up for one another. If you talk to one of us, you talk to all of us. And I think that's a really encouraging thing that is starting to emerge that wasn't there. And I think when you look at last season and what was going wrong, it's not there anymore. Like, they're not getting blown out. We've talked about this a number of times. Even during the losing streak, they never really got blown out. They were right back in games. It was 1 or 2 mistakes that would sink them. And right now, those mistakes aren't happening. Obviously, I think it was Jorge Melendez commented earlier about McAvoy's turnover on the power play led to the shorthanded goal. That was pretty bad. That was pretty careless. But again, McAvoy plays great the rest of the game, and they fight back and they don't roll over. And I think those are those are huge things that come into play for them. We'll get more into the Maple Leafs and what their future holds, because it ain't looking so hot. One thing I do want to touch on, Pastrnak gets goals 400 and 401. Whole team piles onto the ice. Like, what is there to say? What is there to say? I mean, it was a nasty goal. He scores for his 400th. His impact, the leadership that you see in behind the B, he just has it all. Has it all. And he's morphing into their leader. And, he's headed to be he's greatest goal scorer Bruins history, potentially. Like, he's that freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, he's 1 goal away from tying Rick Middleton for 5th in the team history. And if he has another 40, 50 goal season, he's probably going to end the year 3rd, right? He's probably going to pass, I believe Marchand is sitting at 422, and Bertrand's right in front of him, I think, at 427. So if he keeps on piling on these points, he very well could already be 3rd. And if he stays healthy and he keeps on doing what he's doing, he's going to be rising up that list even more. So yeah, it's impressive. You're seeing him. He's been as advertised. And again, like Sturm was awesome yesterday in terms of he's been great. I think the whole year being just very, adding some good perspective, being candid, all these things. But he was asked about like Pasternak's leadership. It's not always you have guys spilling out over the ice, congratulating a guy off of a situation like that. But Sturm said that he kind of reminds him like his leadership style. It's not like Chara or Bergeron, right? It's different, but doesn't mean it's bad. It's he's a guy that is humble. You want to play for him. He's a guy that likes to have fun. Sturm kind of compared him a little bit to Ovechkin, who Sturm played with briefly. Of like, he's been a captain for a long time. He's won a cup with Washington. His approach isn't the same as Chara or Bergeron, right? No. But doesn't mean it doesn't work, right? So
yeah, no, I agree. Chara's a very intense guy too. Not everybody's Chara.
Right. So, you look at just some of these other teams that have won over the years, like all the captains, you can go down the list. They've all been different in terms of their personalities, their approach, all that sort of stuff. So it's a sign that, Pastrnak has that respect. He's a guy these players, want to play with, play for. And if we're looking at the guy who's stepping into a captain's role, nothing's determined yet, but sure makes a compelling case as far as I think what he means to this team. And I think what that approach is. And I also think like if you're building up this new kind of culture where you're taking, bits and pieces from the culture of yesteryear, right? The Chara Bergeron era, which I don't think goes away, but you have a different stamp on it now where you got Pastrnak, who has this approach. You've got, McAvoy, you got Zadorov and the swagger he brings. It's kind of this augmented, different kind of grouping where they have that ability to be a pretty physical team, a team that has that swagger and is trying to build something moving forward. So it's different, but interesting.
I completely agree. And I think that's the thing with him. And, it's so funny, like even when they were talking about, what the Bruins are going to do in the future, where the core goes, he's always a part of it. You need him a part of it. And there's always that false narrative too of like, he's not a big game performer. Someone show me stats that show that, because he has been a really good big game performer. And I think the fact that he can produce offense with anyone, Hustendinov fits down the middle with him, what he's done to Morgan Geekie, like there's so much to David Pastrnak, more so than just goal scoring. We've seen that the last couple of years, but I think we're really seeing it right now. I think I looked this morning, he's like 7th or 8th in points in the league. Like he's
Yeah.
right up there with all those guys. By the way, you want to see a crazy who's leading the league in points. It's like Leo Carlson, Celebrini, Connor Bedard,
Yeah.
like crazy group of good young talent. And then you have someone like David Pastrnak, who's still kind of young. I got a kick out of there was a comment earlier that was like, is the Minton line like the great value Krejci, Horton, Lucic line? And it's like, yes, but Mark Kastelik is David Krejci. Like Mark Kastelik is the setup guy. You know, he has to be that. So I enjoyed that one too. We'll get into more of these things because there are other things we want to get to. We're going to wallow in Toronto a little bit. We're going to get to, it's going to be like a Maple Leafs, you know, this will be fun, making fun of the Leafs a little bit. But first, this episode's brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Morgan Geeky keeps producing. I like him, more than 0.5 goals. And I was a winner on this on Tuesday, and a Prize Picks I made. David Pastrnak, more than 0.5 points. That feels really good to me right now. Prize Picks, simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Good to be right. Hey, I agree. Mark Kastelik has been incredible. Damn right. By the way, Connor can't join because he'll be at the Patriots on Thursday night, but Thursday after the Bruins Senators, Ty Anderson and I will be going live after the game for a live Bruins beat. So you can look forward to that. You can make fun of Ty, you can get on him.
Maybe I'll jump in late. I'll be on the field. It'll look like I'm in Hoth when you look at how cold it's going to be tomorrow night at like 1 a.m. when that game is over. Yeah, the ones that all the football players wear, those gigantic ones on the bench. So maybe I'll jump in for a comment or two.
I was gonna say it's gonna be so cold. Like, you know, Vrabel can't just wear his vest over his shirt, right? You got to have.
He might.
A little something
he very well might. You never know.
He might. Football but guy. Yeah, you can look forward to that on Thursday. Connor might be joining. Connor might jump in, maybe from the podium, like mid Vrabel press conference.
Yeah, like Drake may shut the hell up. No, we got to talk about the Senate.
That's right. We got to talk about Brady Kachuk's new podcast, buddy. All right, Drake.
Yes.
Hush up. There was a comment earlier when we first started. I'll try to find it because
we got so many comments.
We love this. We love the interaction. We do try to engage with everybody. Keith says, Toronto looks just like the Bruins did last year. Very similar situation. I don't disagree. I mean, they lost Mitch Marner in the offseason. That was a huge loss. They never really replaced him. I think you look at where Toronto's at. You have Matthews, but again, who knows how long he's going to be out for. I haven't seen anything new today after last night. You don't have a legit number one defenseman like a Charlie McAvoy that you can sort of build around. And you don't have a starting goalie in net like Swayman to build around. You can say whatever you want about Swayman.
And Stolarz is hurt too. He had a good year last year. He's been bad, and now he's hurt.
That's right. So there's a lot of pieces there that don't add up. You have their first round pick this year. They don't have really any picks. I do wonder if they, at some point, if this continues, if they try to blow it up. I can't imagine that they fully do what the Bruins did last year. But I think this time last year, if you told us that the Bruins were going to trade Marchand, Coyle, Carlo, Frederick, Brazeau, I would have said you were insane. So who knows? But the Leafs are not in a good spot, and you kind of have them over a barrel because you have their first. It is top 5 protected. But if they do end up like the Bruins last year, and they finish as like the 4th worst team and then pick 7th, you'll take it. So Leafs are not in a good spot.
No, and I mean, you look at where the Bruins and Maple Leafs were at, last March, right? It felt like they were 2 completely different paths where the Bruins were looking at a very, very long rebuild. They're moving off pieces, and Toronto is this team that, they weren't maybe on the upswing, but they were right in the middle of their contention window, right? They're, acquiring a guy like Brendan Carlo to help out their team, paid a high price for him. And now look to what your point is, like, where are they right now? The Bruins feel like after a 1-year lull, again, not getting ahead of ourselves, they feel like they're accelerating their timeline. A lot of that, I think, as a byproduct of them doing that roster teardown in March. But you look at Toronto, that is a team that has a lot of talent, has a lot of skill. Like, I'm not ready to say they're going to be a top 10 worst team in the league, but like they're on like a slippery slope, and like only need like 2 or 3 things to kind of go not go their way before it starts snowballing pretty bad, right? Like if Matthews is out for a while and the goaltending doesn't pick up, how do you stop the bleeding, right? Like your best defenseman is out if you're Toronto, and it's Chris Tanev, who has dealt with injuries and he's 35. That's your guy right now. Your top D pair is Morgan Riley, a skilled puck mover, but not the most stout guy, and Brendan Kahlo, who love Brendan Kahlo. He's a great guy. He's not your top pairing guy, and I think you've seen him get exposed. He's caught some flack up in Toronto, but I also don't think he should be your top pairing guy. Nor, if you're Toronto, should you have paid that premium for him, where the Bruins already have a, whatever you want to say he is, 3C of the future, 3C of right now, in Fraser Minton, who's only going to get better. And then you could end up getting even if, like, let's say Toronto rights the ship, but they're a wild card team, or they just missed the playoffs, and you get the 16th overall pick, you're getting a good prospect. This draft is deep. Like, even if you're not getting the McKennas or the Lawrences or the Stenbergs, Verhoffs, all those guys, you look at the projected players there. There's so many like right shot D who look like they could be in the NHL in a year or two. You got a lot of talented wings. You're going to get a good player if Toronto is just pedestrian. And if they're worse, and things really start going off the rails there, does Toronto just like tank? Do they just like take everyone out of the lineup and just bring up the Mollies to like lock in a top 5 pick, which there's no guarantee that even happens. But that's a team that if Matthews is hurt, how do you get yourself out of that spin that they're going down, right? Like they can't, acquire another skilled forward. Like with what picks? Are you trading like Cowan? Are you trading Matthew Nyes?
Yeah.
Like you can't. And that's why even if the Maple Leafs have a top 5 pick in this draft, the Bruins don't get that first round pick until 2028 because Toronto traded their 2027 first round pick for Scott Laughton, who's a 4th line center who's now hurt. Like they're in a tough spot. So I don't know how bad it could get for Toronto, but you saw like the Bruins, as bad as they were last year, they had the skeleton of a still solid team, a team that should not have been a top 5 pick bad team, but the wheels fell off really quickly and they couldn't get themselves out of it. Toronto feels like they're in that same spot where they've got skill, but if an injury or two sprouts up and the goaltending doesn't bounce back, it can get ugly really quick. And if you're the Bruins, you will take that. If you're the Bruins and you have all of a sudden a great year where you're a wild card team or better, and you get like the 6th or 7th pick off of Toronto, that works pretty well.
Well, I wonder what, like, if we were doing Poke the Bear back in 2010 after the Bruins traded Kessel to Toronto, would we be doing this too? Like,
oh my God,
you might get the number 1 pick. Like, you're right there. Toronto's in a bad spot. Toronto's in a really bad spot. And to be honest, even throughout this whole reign, like really since 2016-ish, when, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, all those guys, like, they've never been fully solidified. They were so top heavy. They were never great defensively. They really have not had a legit number 1 starting goalie, and it's hurt them every time. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if the window's closing for them. And again, it's November 12th, but like Thanksgiving's not that far away. Thanksgiving's not that far away. That's usually the barometer, and they're not in a good spot. So again, like I was texting you earlier, like if Toronto is a wild card team and they get bounced and they're picked 15 and you are around the same area and you're picking 20th and you have like the 15th and the 20th pick, or you win the Stanley Cup, you have 15 and 32. But still 15 and 20, like that's good because you can make those picks. Those are going to be good, legit prospects, hopefully very good players down the road, or you can package those picks and trade up. You can package those picks or trade one of them for an established player. Like you have options at the very least. And it hits it again. The big take from, I think, the past 2 games is like, it looks like they've won the Brandon Carlo trade. And I think it kind of hits at a bigger thing. Whereas like, if things are not going your way as a franchise, the deadline is the time to sell off because you get massive returns like that. A first in Fraser Minton. Colorado, you got, one of your top prospects in Will Zellers. You got, a second, and you got Casey Middlestat. So it's like that, That's a good return for Charlie Coyle, who isn't with Colorado anymore, by the way.
Yeah.
You can go
You
through the
got
whole
Will.
thing.
You get Will Moore off of Trent Frederick, who has what, 1 goal in 17 games.
And getting his ass handed to him by Matthew Olivier. So it's like you got good returns and you help build your franchise back up. And it hits at what we talked about on Bruins Beat earlier this week. Like, there's a chance that they may have avoided a full rebuild by just tearing it all down at one deadline. And that is crazy. Now, that I wouldn't say that's 100% going to happen. Would not say that's 100% going to happen, but there's a chance. And I think if you told us that in the offseason, I think I'm like, you're insane. No way. But they're in a better spot. They're in a much, much better spot. And it hits at this. Are they legit? Are the Bruins legit? Like, are you had them in the wild card to begin the year? I'd imagine that hasn't changed. Do you see this Bruins team as legit?
I mean, you're seeing the way they're playing right now, right? Like, they're such an interesting team, right? Because they're fun to watch right now. You just want to see if they can string it together moving forward. But I think it just goes back to, not to sound like a broken record, but if they can just stick to their principles, stick to the script, defend, relentlessly in their own end, stick to Sturm's system, and cash in on the power play, and your big guns like Pastrnak and Geeky are going to score. Yeah, I think they're a wild card team. Now, if this continues and when they're healthy, the Middlestat, Zaka, Arvidsson line is continuing to play well, and the Minton, Janot, Kaslik line is cashing in. Like, if they continue to do this and keep on proving all of us wrong, then maybe they're like the second team in the Atlantic, which they are right now, right? Like, at this point, this team has continued to kind of, I think, exceed expectations as far as what we mapped out. Like, I think when we went through our best case scenarios for this team in August and September, it was that, right, of tough to play against, stingy, kind of 2-1 hockey. But if you play that way, you're going to get a lot of points, win or lose, right? Like, if you get a point out of some of these games, but you play a tough, tenacious, structured game, you're going to get rewarded for it. If all these guys keep on pulling on the rope like they are right now, it feels like they've got the winning formula, as far as even that can keep you afloat, even if you have some offensive regression there. And at this point, yeah, you have to feel like they're a team that the way they're playing, they have all the makings of a tough out, a team that can be in the playoffs. And I know, like, the recent standings, I know the Athletic did one where they still had them, with the 6th worst record in the league as far as like the projected standings. Because I know
16.4% chance to make the playoffs, according to the Athletic.
And I know, like, some of their underlying numbers, like, you look under the hood, aren't great. Like, they're still giving up a lot of expected goals, what have you. But it feels like this is a team that just keeps on buying in. You're having guys being put in spots where they're succeeding. They're kind of a little bit like Washington last year, where they had some big guns, right? They have some talent, but then everyone else just seems to buy in, gel correctly. And you're seeing them really kind of buy in and produce. And, you looked at the Capitals roster last year, you look up and down the depth chart, like, how does this guy have, you'd see them in like March and April. You're like, how does this guy have like 48 points? Who the fuck? Like, and like, are the Bruins that team this year? I'm not saying that all of a sudden we're going to be in April and be like, hand up, who had Mikey Eyssimont with 25 goals? I'm not saying that. But like, if it's like Janot with 31 points and Mikey Eyssimont with 25 and Minton with like 30 points and Arvidsson's got 20 goals and like Middlestat's, all these guys are on a pace now where they're all pulling on the rope, and you're seeing them get rewarded for it. So, and to, one of the comments about, like, also Sturm feels like the X factor here. Like, he's mapped out the vision, he's mapped out the identity, and guys are following along with it, and the points are piling up. So are they legit? Like, does a legit mean that they're a playoff team or like a contender or what? Because right now it feels like they're a team that is making some noise. And you look at also like their schedule to start the year. I think they're 30th, 31st, and as far as like how difficult their schedule has been out of the gate this year. They're like the only team that's handed Colorado a regulation loss, right? Or one of the two teams. Like, they've been dealt a pretty tough schedule to start the year, and they've shown, whether it's even during their losing streak where they're hanging tough, they're getting back in these games, like against Florida or Vegas, to now like the 7-game win streak. They're a tough out. They're a competitive team that is going to work their ass off, and I think you're seeing it so far.
That's why I disagree with the model. Dom's model has the Bruins, as you said, still sixth worst. 81.8 projected points. They should not be that. Am I convinced they're a full playoff team, second or third in the Atlantic, or definite first wild card team? No, but they should be contending for it. They should be in and around it the way they're playing. And for the people who still want them to tank, who are rooting for them to lose, I don't understand that. Because I think in hockey, and this is the biggest thing with the Bruins, is you just need to make your picks. Doesn't necessarily mean that they all have to be top 5 or top 7 or top 3. You just need to make them. Don't give away your picks unless someone like Hampus Lindholm now pops up and it's like, nope, got to go get that guy, sign him long term. He's a part of our core.
Rasmus Anderson, right? Like, I know he's 29, which is a little bit in the starting the slope, I guess, down. But if he's a guy you sign and then you have him long term, and you got Zadorov, McAvoy, Lindholm, and that's pretty good. So
it is. And I even Connor says if you take a couple of those games during the losing streak to overtime and lose the record, and the perception wouldn't be as bad. It's true. It wouldn't. If they got some points out of that losing streak, I think we're in a much different spot. So I just, to me, you just need to make your picks. Just make your picks. And you might get lucky with Toronto. Who knows? You might get lucky with Florida in a year or two. Florida's not really in a great spot right now. I still think that they rebound and end
Can
up
you
in the
imagine
playoff.
it? Can you imagine if they had Florida's pick this year? And I feel like Florida even is probably going to right the ship. Kachuk's going to be back at some point, right? But I think you look at Tankathon right now. It had the Bruins with the 8th pick from Toronto, and let's say the Bruins got the 26th Florida pick. I think that's 11 right now.
Yeah,
that's and again, even if Florida does right the ship, unless they go on a crazy run, they could also be a team that is even in the 20s. You're getting a good prospect out of that. So we'll see what they add next year. But I don't know if you're going to outright win the Marchand trade, right, for what he did for that team. But you'll look at the rest of these trades and what they've done. They all have been looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, and again, like AA says, that 6-game stretch sucked for sure, but I did not hate watching them. I didn't hate the product, which is what makes the difference for me winning or losing. It is true. They were in all those games.
They worked their ass off. The one game that's been the outlier has been that Ottawa game, which...
And we went live after.
Yeah.
we went live after.
We had people in the comments being like, say Don Sweeney sucks. I'm going to give you a knuckle sandwich.
Say it. Say
yeah.
it.
But no,
night. It feels like forever ago.
But I think even we said it last week where the Bruins started stacking some wins, and it feels like even with that 6-game losing streak, that Ottawa game was the one outlier game that every team has 2-3 of those in a season where you just get your ass kicked, you burn the tape, and you're like, man, fuck that. That's terrible. That wasn't the case last year where it happened every week, every 10 days, it felt like. But has kind of been the outlier. Even in the games where they've come up short and they've had some back-breaking losses like Florida, Anaheim, all that kind of stuff, they keep on fighting. And I think you're seeing that right now. And even Sturm mentioned that after the game. He said, I'm glad we went through that now because I think it showed what we needed to change, what I needed to change. And we got dealt with that adversity early on, and we're better for it now. We'll see if they can build off of that moving forward, but the results are what they are right now.
They are. They are, and roast and toast. Counterpoint, Bees are 7-7-4 in regulation. Good, but not impressive. I agree, and that's why I don't I can't sit here and be like they are officially a playoff team. It's playoffs or bust. No, I think they're in and around it. They contend for it. I think that they're last couple weeks of the season they're in it. And look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. They're gonna lose at some point. They just are. I'm sorry. They are gonna lose at some point. And it's going to go back and forth, and they're going to win 2 in a row. Then they're going to lose 1, and then they're going to win another. And they're going to lose 2 or 3 in a row. That's just the way that's the way this team is built. That's what's going to happen. And I think at the end of the day, when it all comes out in the wash, they're going to be contending. They're going to be contending for a playoff spot, and it's going to be exciting hockey throughout the winter. They're going to be ups right now. I mean, this is S&P 500 record, right? This is everyone's up at the top. Now's when you sell. Now is when you sell a little bit of your Bruin stock. I know G made it. I'm sorry. Don't ruin the 75-7 dream. I'm trying not to. And it even says April will be fun. It should be fun. And I think this might be the first time I'm mentioning him on this show, or at least in this episode. Like, do you bring James Higgins in at the end of the season and see what you got there? Like, there's interesting things there at the end of the season that I think will be really good, and they're in a good spot. Like, the vibes are good. That's why tomorrow night, like, if they lose, no live thing with Ty. It's done. No Ty Anderson, I guess.
It'd be me by myself in a pocket being like, hello, is anyone on?
Well, remember back in the day when you, I don't know, your Wi-Fi went out, you were in like a Dunk's parking lot. Remember that? We got to bring that back at some point.
Yes.
Get people going.
I'll be at reporting live from Mick Morgan's for the Bruins post-game video.
Across the street at Porter's Pub.
Yes.
Yeah, they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot. 7 in a row is legit. What is it? Is it 8 of 9 at this point?
8 of 9,
if you include that Senators loss in there. So they're in a good spot. Like,
which is buoyed by a regulation win over Colorado, who has been filthy.
Yes.
No, Aiden, we're not doing that. Absolutely not.
The McDonald's in North Station too. Like, yes. I don't think we're gonna go that far. Oh, 91-7. 91-7, because I'm assuming you're including the playoffs. So just sweep the playoffs. You know what? Someone said earlier, they're like, this season is the hockey gods' redemption for 2019. The redemption would be 2023. Like, this is the team that goes all the way. This is the team that goes on a crazy run, like the Panthers in 2023. Like, that would be hilarious if this is the team that does it after we were like, they're gonna suck.
Like the 2013 Red Sox. We got like the Patriots are now doing a 0-1 Patriots run here. So
yeah,
maybe it's all. I was telling
back, man.
I was saying, like, before, this is probably more when we were looking at the team in the middle of that 6-game losing streak, where we're talking about, like, are they going to get McKenna? Are they going to get one of these guys? That even you look at just how much the Bruins accelerated their timeline last year by just moving all those picks, getting Higgins, getting all these guys. If you get another, like, blue chip talent, the Bruins are in, like, a good spot, right? And clearly they've exceeded those expectations right now, where all of a sudden they could potentially be a playoff team with Higgins and these guys on the way. But it's a fun time for Boston sports, man. Like, if the Celtics, so I know they're going through a rough thing, get like a legit prospect with Tatum coming back, with the Red Sox on the upswing, with the Patriots how they are right now, you kind of got like a little Boston renaissance going on right now. So it's an exciting time. And that's why I think even if you're expecting the Bruins to take a little bit of a step back, they're not going to win 7 in a row every multiple times this year, but have fun. It's been a fun season so far. They're a team that, if you're a fan, they're easy to root for. It's easy to buy into what they're selling, what they're showing out there, and you should enjoy it, because right now it's been a whole lot better than what we were at last year. Where was Jim Montgomery fired on November 12th? I forget. It was right around this time. It was right around this time. Maybe it was like November 17th, I think. But you look at where we were last year, where we all were expecting this team to be on a playoff run, and we're like, what's going on here? This isn't all that great. To where they are now, where even if this team takes a step back, even if they do regress a little bit, I think Bruins fans feel like this team is on the right track. You got a lot of key guys in place. You got guys that are overperforming, guys that look like they're part of the solution moving forward with Geeky, Minton, all these types of players. I really hope not.
Starts gone really 5 days from now.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
It was November 19th, by the way. November 19th.
That's but feels like a whole lot different from where we were just a year ago. And it does feel like, even however this year ends, it's kind of what we said before the stat of what's the best case scenario for this team. It's this team overachieves. They show like they've got more room to grow. The ceiling is nowhere near where it is by the time this season ends. But Bruins fans are like, I can't wait for 26-27. Let's get the season started wherever the season ends. Feels like they're on that track right now.
I mean, again, I imagine if you're a fan and you were watching Tuesday night's game, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, edge of your seat, your team's beating up the Leafs on the scoreboard, and literally, like, they're a fun product to watch. And I didn't expect to say that this season. Like, I really didn't. I expected a lot of what we had during that losing streak, which is like, they fight, They're the little engine that could, but they're not enough. They don't have enough of that skill. But you're seeing guys everywhere step up. The second line is working even without Casey Middlestat. Mark Kastelik is like Sidney Crosby out there. And again, this isn't all going to last, but enjoy it right now because it's happening right now. And I think that for Bruins fans, that's a really positive thing. Friendly reminder, obviously, make sure to go subscribe to Bruins Ringside on YouTube. We're doing these all the time. Tomorrow night, Ty Anderson and I live Bruins beat after Bruins Senators. And then if you don't like watching and you just want to listen and you want, maybe it's too late for you, you want to listen to it on the road to work the next morning, you can do that. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts from. And then obviously a Patriots Press Pass, Celtics All Access, all those great things. Even last night, like Alex Steves scoring a goal, like that's,
yeah.
It's cool, man. Like against your former team, former organization. Fraser Minton having the success that he's having. Jorge asks, who do you think starts in net tomorrow? I would think Korpisalo.
I'd probably say Korpisalo. I think he's due for a stat anyway. He played well against Ottawa the last game. I think it maps out pretty well where you get Korpisalo, who's rested against a team that he wants to do well against after they kind of dealt him away for peanuts. Or as part of like more of a peanuts.
Yeah, not peanuts, but in there.
But you look at how Omar's playing this year. But it was more of a contract dump for what it is. So he's motivated. He's playing well right now. So I think he gets back in the lineup. And then it sets up for Swayman a little bit more rest. And he goes up to Montreal on Saturday, which is going to be a fascinating game. That's going to be a fun game. And the league is a lot better when both the Bruins and Montreal are both good and both on the upswing. Feels like that's what we're getting right now, at least.
No question. Absolutely no question. Someone earlier asked about like trade deadline acquisitions. We're going to save that for a future episode because I don't want to dive too deep into the trade deadline on November 12th. But at least we talk about it, a little.
I'm laughing at Keith's comment about Toronto's giving a 2031st.
For Korpisalo. I could see it. Maybe it'll happen. You never know. This has been fun. Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can read my stuff over at the Globe and Boston.com. We have you covered every step of the way in this Bruins season. We got recaps, features, columns, breakdowns. Got a couple of fun features in the works, too, that I'm excited to share in a couple of weeks. So looking forward to that. So please subscribe over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Poke the Bear listeners and viewers who tuned in live. Thank you. You Poke the Bear listeners and viewers have a great rest of your week.